Julie Gunlock, thank you so much for coming on the program today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And congratulations on getting to speak to another grown-up besides your husband, because I know that you've been stuck in the house, much like most of Northern Virginia and many people across the East Coast, been stuck in the house for the last couple of days.
Well, actually, even the day after, on Saturday morning,
Sunday morning.
Gosh, I've totally lost track of my days now. Yeah, Sunday morning. So the storm was really wild on Saturday night. It was really strong, total blackout conditions or whiteout conditions. And so the snow was falling well into Saturday. But Sunday morning, I got them up and I made them walk to a restaurant, which is over a mile away. I made them walk it because by then we were so stir crazy and we had been in that dang house for so long. We went out a couple times to play in the snow and do a few things. But for the most part, we were in that house. So we did actually do quite a long walk on Saturday, on Sunday morning and Monday morning. So, you have to do that.
You do. I was stuck in D.C. and made it home Sunday morning to Farmville.
Oh, wow.
And as the amazing thing is, I got to say, Virginia DOT did a great job on the interstates and the main highways. Even Sunday morning it was fine. But as I'm trying to get out of Alexandria, I'm driving up King Street, and there are all of these parents, Julie, who are, again, walking with their kids in the street.
Yeah, that's me. Now, you go ahead and criticize those people because I was doing it too, because I was going crazy in my house, and so were all those parents. So, yeah, I'm sure that you disapprove of such parenting decisions, but I was going to kill my kids. So.
I only disapprove of letting your kids play unattended in a snowbank on the actual street itself.
You're such a helicopter parent,
right? A little bit of helicoptering would be okay at that point. But whatever.
Yeah,
I did not.
Look, there's limits.
I was safe. I took it slow. I didn't hit any kids, but I was a little shocked at the number of parents who were just walking right down the middle of a major,
because they were drunk. They were probably like 3 Bloody Marys in,
right,
and they didn't care what was happening. So yes, I think there's been a lot of intoxication around the Virginia area this weekend. So.
Well, when President Bloomberg is in charge, we're gonna have a 2-drink maximum, so that'll put an end to all that, right?
Yes, I plan to drink a lot if he becomes president. I cannot. The narcissism and hubris and confidence of this man never fails to amaze me. He obviously thinks he's going to step in and save the country. But we better brace ourselves for a whole lot of nannying, tisking, and being told how to eat and live our lives. And talk about gun confiscation. I mean, it's coming if Bloomberg is elected. So he makes Trump look totally attractive to me.
It's really interesting. I mean, we've heard these sort of floaters. I won't even call them rumors because I think that they're actually floated by the Bloomberg camp.
Yeah.
For years now, would Bloomberg get in? But again, this is such a such an unusual election year, such a bizarre election year, that all of the rules seem to be broken on almost a daily basis. And so the idea of a third-party presidential run, look, those really haven't worked out well in American politics. But when you have somebody who can self-finance, who's willing to spend over $1 billion, he'll get his messaging out. I guess then the big $1 billion question is, does America want what Bloomberg is selling?
Well, what's interesting, too, about this third-party candidate is that he offers nothing different. I mean, he's not so different from Bernie Sanders and from Hillary Clinton. He's a complete left-wing, politician. He likes to present himself as somehow moderate, but he's not. He's radical on a lot of issues, and so it doesn't offer. I don't see him really drawing many votes away from the Republican Party. I see him more of a threat to the Democrats. And frankly, I think people are unsettled about Hillary Clinton. I think they are very worried. I think there's a lot of whispers going around D.C. about, oh gosh, is she going to be indicted and what's going to happen? I mean, you've heard even, talk about people putting out feelers. I think Biden's camp is putting out feelers about whether he should get in now because nobody thinks Bernie can really win this thing. People are terrified, at least the left is terrified that Hillary's going to be indicted. And so it's really making people sweat. So that's why we're seeing this kind of these kinds of, rumors floating around and thoughts among some folks like Bloomberg about getting in. I'm really interested in watching the Biden situation. I think if something comes out from the FBI, I think we're going to see some action in Biden's camp.
That'd be really interesting because, Biden very publicly said, nope, not going to do it. And then afterwards said that he regrets every day not getting in. I think that there are probably, and frankly, I think it probably goes beyond Biden and Bloomberg. I think that there are probably other names out there that we haven't really even thought of, Julie, who are thinking to themselves, look, if I've got the money, this might be the year, right? I mean, if you've got non-traditional candidates, if you've got the dark horse candidates who end up getting the party nomination, and you can self-finance, heck, if you've ever harbored the desire to be president and you've got $1 billion plus dollars, are you ever going to face another election year like this one?
No, I know. I mean, honestly, I'm thinking of running. I mean, why not? Why not? It is so crazy out there. I mean, I think for people who are sort of, I'm a political junkie. I obviously love this stuff. I mean, where's the popcorn? I can't wait to watch how this unfolds. And everybody talks about how the Republicans are just in total disarray and, what's going to stop Trump? And, oh, my gosh, what's happening with Trump? But, I mean, the Democrats are in just as much disarray and, frankly, panic because of the situation with the Clinton campaign. Her poll numbers are not looking good. She has been weakened by this. She has not been able to stay on message. And then you have this town hall meeting where this kid gets up and says, a lot of people think you're dishonest. I mean, no, people aren't even polite anymore. So this is a really fascinating election cycle. It's hard to see how this is going to all flesh out. But again, I think you're totally right that people are seeing opportunities here. Why not jump in if the candidates, both on the left and right, are so weak?
Well, and our friend Glenn Reynolds, the Instapundit, his latest column at USA Today talks about a new AP poll. More than 6 in 10 respondents expressed only slight confidence or none at all that the federal government can make progress on the problems facing the nation in 2016. And the AP poll said that there was really no difference between Republicans and Democrats when it came to disillusionment or dissatisfaction with the federal government. I think one of the things that I see a lot of the inside the Beltway analysts, they don't really talk about the fact that unaffiliated voters is the largest voting bloc in America right now. Both parties are shedding identifiers, right? People who identify as Republicans or Democrats. There are fewer and fewer of them. And yet, we have all of these inside the Beltway analysts who are scratching their heads saying, I just can't figure out what's going on. Well, Americans, generally speaking, are very dissatisfied by what they see in Washington, which, makes it, someone who says, well, I'm an outsider, I'm a problem solver, I'm someone who doesn't bring all the D.C. baggage with me. Look, that can be really appealing. Unfortunately, I think they're going to go to D.C. That's what I don't think. I don't think too many voters have really reckoned with that fact that whoever gets elected, outsider or insider, they're going to go to D.C. and do their job. Well, exactly. So, this is not something that, frankly, if Americans are dissatisfied with D.C., this isn't something that can only be changed, oddly enough, during a presidential election year or even during the midterm elections. This is something that we, the voters, have to change every stinking day.
I think you've totally nailed how the American electorate feels. I had a similar experience. Someone on my Facebook feed put up something about North Korea. Well, when I was in my 20s, I worked on Capitol Hill, and I worked on the North Korean refugee issue. It was a terribly troubling issue. It was a very upsetting issue to follow and to cover for the member that I worked for. And it was just amazing because my friend put up sort of the latest developments on these issues, and nothing had changed. I mean, it's been almost 2 decades ago that I worked on those issues, and they are still in this circle, dealing with the same, let's do sanctions, let's do this, let's do that, dealing with the Chinese. I mean, nothing has changed. And meanwhile, these people in North Korea just suffer such the suffering is hard to describe. And, I thought to myself, I can't believe that very little has changed since I've worked on those issues, since I've really focused on those issues. And that's exactly how the American public feels on every issue. Nothing changes. It's the same bad behavior. It's the same frustration. It's the same, mess in Washington. And so I don't think anybody should be surprised that we're seeing these wild cards coming out in this election, because people just want, I think the Federalist, I think Molly Hemingway writes really well, though. She has written about this before, about trying to understand how Americans just feel really frustrated. And this is what happens when people have sort of have given up and have lost total faith in the system.
Talking again with Julie Gunlock of the Independent Women's Forum. And Julie, before we let you go, I've got to ask you about a sort of a new feature that you are doing. I realize today is Tuesday, but on Fridays we can enjoy Freak Out Friday. This I'm not a huge fan of hashtags, but I like this hashtag, Julie. Freak Out Friday.
Yeah, I thought of that. I'm very proud of that. It's a new column that I'm writing for the American Spectator called Freak Out Friday. It comes out every Friday, and the latest thing that you're being told to freak out about, and you really shouldn't. I did one 2 weeks ago, 2 Fridays ago, on sugar. There was a Telegraph article that came out that said kids are eating their weight in sugar every year. How horrifying. But what they were talking about was a 5-year-old, and an average 5-year-old weighs about 40 pounds. And so I did a little bit of math, and that comes out to just under about a quarter cup of sugar a day. And so then I went through, I consider myself a healthy person and a parent who really is pretty good about their children's nutrition. And I come in close to that. And there, so I think we need to calm down. That's 3 tablespoons of sugar. Now, I wish my kids were getting probably less, but I went through, they have a little bit of sugar on their cereal, or they might have a breakfast bar, and then I put a sweet in their lunch, and then they might have a snack after school. So I went through, and I feel like I'm a pretty good mom about these things. So it's a reason, yes, you're being told to freak out about this, but it's really not a hard amount to reach. And this is from a mom who again, takes a real interest in her children's nutrition. So don't freak out too much about that. Yes, everybody can cut down on their sugar, but it's not a reason to panic. And often what these sort of articles and these, your child is eating their weight in sugar, it's used to put sugar taxes in place or put some sort of restrictions in place. So we need to resist that and not freak out about when we hear those things. There's some reasonable measures that can be done, some education campaigns and encouraging parents to do more, but we don't need taxes. So I focus on that, and that's the kind of column where I try to sort of logic it out, calm the sort of the hyperbole down a bit, and really focus on the facts.
So obviously there's not going to be any shortage of things that we are told to freak out about. But recently you wrote about the new dietary guidelines, which are different from the old dietary guidelines, right? Which were different from the ones before that. And basically your point is just don't let the government tell you
how to eat. That's right. Yeah, these come out every 5 years, and every 5 years they're flawed. And look, they've made vast improvements in them. Cam, I'm sure you remember when you and I are similar ages, and when we were in high school and grade school, you remember the pyramid, right? It told us to eat very little meat and eat a ton of carbs. And you fast forward a couple decades, and that is the opposite of what they tell you now. They tell you to eat healthy fats and get good sources, not all meat protein, not all animal sources, but eat protein, whether it's through beans or meat. And then, really limit your carbohydrates. And if you do eat carbohydrates, eat complex carbohydrates. So they've made some good changes in them, but still, look, nutrition science, there's been a couple articles that have pointed out how flawed nutrition science is. And look, we really are, conservatives always roll their eyes at the term, we're all snowflakes. And I roll my eyes at that when it's talking about how delicate we are, because I don't think humans are delicate, but we are snowflakes when it comes to medical issues and our nutrition. Every human is different. And that's why you need to talk to your doctor or a nutritionist. And in the end of my article, I had a piece up in the New York Post. I said, talk to your mom. She probably knows more than these silly guidelines. So they change quite a bit. They're usually outdated after a year. There's been some new sort of evidence saying this is right and this is wrong. So, I say ignore them. The federal government, unfortunately, bases a lot of taxpayer-funded programs through these dietary guidelines, WIC and SNAP and the school lunch program, and how our military eats. So when you think about some of our most important U.S. citizens and our most vulnerable, the poor in this country, that is the design. That's how they eat, is based on these dietary guidelines. They need to improve. They need to improve the system. So I say to the normal, average, everyday person, ignore them. But for these programs, billions of dollars of taxpayer dollars that are used in these programs, we do need to make sure that the system is improved and that these guidelines really stick to their mandate, which is to look at the most up-to-date nutrition information.
Julie Gunlock with the Independent Women's Forum. Listen, thank you so much for coming on the program. It is always a pleasure. Hopefully the kids are back in school before long, and look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Or I'll be taking this call from jail next time. No, you'll be my first call, Cam.
Well, that's good to know. Just use the cell, all right?
Okay.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Julie Gunlock with the Independent Women's Forum here on NRA News, Cam and Company.